Welcome to another Max Chroma tutorial video. In this video, I'll be going over a few more things about the HCWB custom color range action I have available on my payhip.com/maxchroma page. In the previous video, I showed this HCWB custom color range action, but I'm also going to be going over the creation of a color test file, as I showed in the previous video. I'd like to use this file, but I kind of want to add a few more of the elements that I've had in this other file I have for free on my website there. So you can get this file for free and this HWB color wheel for free. And I'm going to put up this file as soon as I'm done making it. This should just take a few minutes. What I'm going to do is just try to add a few more of those elements. I have the, this is the merged file. I have the layered version. I really don't want to put these labels in here. And I'm not going to have this part that has the tone pulled out to it. So if I hold Control when selecting a layer, I can, as long as I have the auto select turned off and set to layer, I can hold Control and grab one of these layers. So I'm going to hold Control, go to that one, and just delete it. Get rid of all this text over here in the layers panel. Just delete these. Okay. And I'm going to get rid of those lines right here. Hold Control, select that, Control on this. Okay, now what I'm going to do is grab all of these and Control E to merge them. And I don't need that background for right now, but I will end up making probably a gray, neutral gray background. So I'll just set this to 50% brightness or 128 RGB, and no hue and no saturation is what's important. Now this whole document, I'm going to probably set it to about 10 inches by 10 inches. I don't want to change the art yet, so I'm going to use the canvas, image canvas size, 10 by 10. Okay, and then this particular layer is what I'm going to use to generate the other pieces, go around in a circle. So I'll have it go two ways. One way will be horizontal, so I'll set that aside for now. The other way will be in a circle. I'm going to hit Control R to show my rulers, and I'm going to have View snapping on. Go to the 5-inch point and the 5-inch point. Now I'm going to take this layer and rotate it holding Shift 90 degrees, and then I'm going to proportionally scale this, snap it in place over here, and I kind of want to make it about this size so it can go around the circle. We'll see what we can get away with when we rotate it. Okay, now I'm not going to try to move this up here and then rotate it that way. What I'm going to do is actually drag it to this side. Control T. Control T is when you go to Edit, Free Transform. And I'm going to hold Shift and rotate it 180 degrees, like so. Now, since I'm in 16-bit, I can perform this hue operation and it'll be accurate. If you're in 8-bit, sometimes shifting the hues can create little banding and noise of hues in the more neutral regions. So I'm going to go to Adjustments, Hue and Saturation. I want to shift the hue, the master hue only, 180 degrees. So that makes it cyan. I'm going to do a Control E or layer merge down. Now I can duplicate this holding Alt, drag, or right-click duplicate. And then I'm going to hit Control T again. Now holding Shift, you can see it's centered because both of them are proportionally equally on each side of the document. Holding Shift, I'm going to rotate it 30 degrees. And I didn't really make it small enough. Okay, so let's just go back a couple of steps and do it this way. So go back to this original and just need to make it a little bit smaller. There's a way to calculate it first, but I don't really want to get into that in this video. Okay, then we will hold Shift while dragging, duplicate over, rotate that 180, Control U for the hue saturation, 180 degrees. Now Control E to merge down, Alt drag there, Control T holding Shift, 30 degrees. Now I've got enough room between the two. Rotating 30 degrees, the object, and then Control U to rotate the hue 30 degrees. So now that's orange, this one's azure. Go back to this layer, hold Alt, drag it up, Control T, let's rotate it 60 degrees, holding Shift. Control U, rotate the hue 60 degrees. Back to the other layer, hold Alt, drag, hold Control T to 90 degrees, holding Shift. Control U, 90 degrees. Okay, go back to this, hold Alt, drag. Now, instead of rotating it all the way around this way, I'm actually going to go the opposite direction now. Control T, the other direction, negative 30 degrees. And I would Control U, negative 30. 30. Go back to the original again, hold Alt, drag, Control T, negative 60 degrees, Control U, negative 60. Okay, so now we have the colors going around at 30-degree increments to create basically a color wheel. And I'm going to merge all of those. And then I want this part. And the thing is, similar to this file, it has to be small if I'm going to do it one row. I could do multiple rows, but I think that just gets a little bit confusing. This is really just through the spectrum, red to magenta. This one goes around the wheel, kind of where they tie into each other. The goes violet, magenta, rose, which is now mixing red and magenta together, and then it gets back to red there. So with this particular one, I know I have to make it kind of small. And then this part, you can kind of maybe save some time to record a quick action, but it's not that hard if you just do the snapping. So I will hold Alt, drag it over, so it's going to snap. The pixels will be right next to each other there. And then Control U, 30 degrees. So I could have recorded an action that does that. When I play the action, it'll move this one over and 30 degrees, the same amount. Well, let's just do it manually. Control U. And it's okay to do it this way, 30 degrees, but like I was doing with the other one, it's actually a little better to start with the original red over here. So take that one, drag it over to there. Now I'll rotate it 60. Because otherwise I'd keep rotating the hue 30 degrees. Click that layer over here. 90. Here. 120. Click on that layer, drag with Alt and Shift, Control U, 150. Again, Control U, 180. And in the master hue slider, it only goes plus 180 or negative 180. So let's go ahead and actually make this a little quicker. Well, it's kind of the same either way I do it. I'll just shrink these down so I can keep showing you the progression. It's going to be about that much. Okay, back to this first layer, holding Alt and Shift, snaps in place. Now it's going to go negative 150 from cyan to azure blue. Negative 120. Negative 90. Select that layer. Negative 60. Like someone's like stuck on my 0. Okay. And right there, negative 30. Okay, so I will grab all those layers, merge together. That is the horizontal row. This is the hue circle. And I'll just drag this in place. If I hit Control T, I can see where the center is. Put it right there. We don't want these to touch, so holding Alt and Shift, and this is in the, right now I'm in CC version 14. If you're in CC 2019, there's some things about the proportional scaling. Doesn't quite work the same way as it did. But I'm holding Shift and Alt. Alt basically keeps it centered on itself, whether I go vertical, horizontal. Okay, let's just not apply that. Shift, let me just move that back to the center. Shift is what keeps it proportional. So that direction, okay, but what I want to do is proportional while keeping it centered. So Shift and Alt together would be like keeping it centered while going proportional. So I'm just going to make sure it doesn't touch those colors. Okay. All right, so View, Clear Guides. I will merge those. And I believe in this file I did have it merged. It's got a transparent background in the actual PNG file, so I think I'll save it that way. Okay, so this file I'm going to save. What I'm going to do is just pause the video so I can save the file and put it on the PayHip page so you can download it. Okay. Okay, so now I've added this product to my Max Chroma PayHip website. You can get it at this link, which I'll put in the video, and you can download it for free. Again, it's similar to the other one that just has the color points in it. Okay, now I'm going to go back to Photoshop and using this test file. And also it's in 16-bit, so sometimes you might want to just convert it to 8-bit. I'll do it for this video. Okay. And what I'm going to do is show you in the actions the HCWB color range action. Let's set that to button mode. Now there's something to keep in mind when extracting neutrals. Oh, let me go back to that, the one that I want to use here. This one with trans background, and I will put a gray behind it just for the purpose of this video. Let's just flatten that image. Okay. When you're extracting these custom colors, there's a difference between a completely neutral gray, black, or white, and anything that has hue content to it. So something that's important when extracting one of these colors, if you're picking from your original artwork, is the original color totally neutral, or does it have some hue component in it? And as promised, I will show a sneak peek into how you would extract these things. Okay, and there is a method that's being used here, and I want to show it because this is another one of those eye-opening moments that's pretty cool to see just how simple it is and what the mathematics is behind it and how that's really simple to think about as well. When you do select color range, we can see that selecting a neutral gray will also select into the colors. Okay, I can select just that color, or I can select into the other colors. So let's just bring that up, maybe make it purple so you can see that's pulling gray into all of the other colors as well, which is accurate because this gray is present and looks like all those other grayed out colors. Now, one thing that's interesting about it's a different method than color range, but it's also really simple, is using those layer blend modes. If I just take a new layer of any color, and let me set it to red for now. That's 0 degree in the hue, 100% saturated, and 100% bright. And looking in the blend modes, and these are probably things you played around with over the years, a lot of them we look at and we look at them artistically. Oh, that's interesting. What would I do with this? What would I do with that? And one of the modes people have got to is difference. And it tends to look, especially if you just have some sort of other image going on over this. I mean, let's say I just used this image. Let me copy this, paste it in here. Let's say I did difference here. Normally when we're putting one layer over another and they're totally different layers, the difference is going to give us all these wacky colors all over the place. It looks cool and interesting, but we don't really know what it's used for, right? If you put an entire color over the original image and you set it to difference, it's essentially saying, where is one layer different from the other? At every single pixel in here, how different is the red, let's say, from this gray? Okay, let's go to difference, and it makes it gray. How different is the red from cyan? It makes it white. How different is the red from red? It makes it black. So where things are black, they're the same. Where things are white, they're the most different. Okay, because cyan is the opposite hue from red. And again, we're looking at this, we're saying, yeah, but what about all these other colors? Well, here's the next step. Let's go to this adjustment layer so we can see it live. And we can do a hue saturation to desaturate everything. That's one method. And now you see, oh, it starts to look like a mask of just the red extraction. Or we can do a black and white adjustment layer. So let's go here and do black and white. And we're going to set this to maximum white. But we could also set these higher, okay, to extract more of that, make it the extraction a little sharper. Or we can set them lower, like I had with the desaturation. Okay, but let's just stick with the default of maximum white. I have to switch that over. Okay, so looking at these two layers over, so this is the custom color with difference, and this is to make other hues white. So looking at this, now I can actually change this around and see, well, what about the shade? Let me zoom in. This is in a video. You need to be able to see it. So I've made it to that shade color. What about this tint? What if I make it to the gray? Oh, okay, I'm extracting the gray. What about black? Okay, that's the same as pulling the blackness, as I've shown in other videos. What about white? That's the same way to pull the whiteness. What about another hue? Cyan, okay. And we can just rotate this hue all the way around. Okay, I'm just scrolling through the hues, and you can see it's extracting the other colors. Okay, I can just move this all the way around. What if it's any color, like in the midtones of the red? Okay, you see that? See this moving around? Okay, but again, this is a different way. This is not the same way that I'm doing the HCWB custom color range. What I'm doing is extracting the hue angles, the chroma, the whiteness, and the blackness, and performing this kind of a extraction on each of those and then recombining them. So it's a little bit more complex than this first step, but this step shows you the power behind things that we never thought were useful in this way. And if you think about it, to me it makes perfect sense. Where is it different and where is it the same? And then we can get a mask out of that. Now it's not some sort of perfect way. It's you can see what's happening is even when I'm selecting this red, it's still looking at the grays as being similar. It's looking at the shades of orange and magenta as being similar to that red. So this difference mode is a one way of looking at these. And what I had done once I got through the hue, chroma, white, black extractions, I said, what if I apply that to each of those? So I'll save that for another future video in the how-to. But again, the thing between neutrals and colors with the HCWB custom color range action is there's another thing to consider. Let me close this. Now let me go ahead and eyedrop, and I'll just move this to 8-bit. So what if I pull something like a gray color with this custom color range? It's going to default to only select the neutral range. And if you have an image in which you've selected that, it may appear that the mask is missing a lot of pieces to it. Okay, so when this is done, we'll go ahead and I'll show you a different option you have. Okay, so it's gotten through all those actions. And again, I can look at this color overlay to see what it's extracted, and I can see it's gotten that gray, and it's gotten where it fades out to the white and black, but it has not gone into any of these colors. And you'd think, well, this is very, very similar. This is almost exactly like that gray. Why didn't it do it? It's knocking out all of the hues from this. So what I'm going to do is go to the maximum range. Okay, it could be medium or minimum. But the thing I want to do is, looking at these layers here, I can filter it first to get to the right one. And what it's going to be is the Max Chroma HCWB hue mask group. So if I want to not have to scroll through, I could go name and say hue mask, I believe. Hue mask, and I can see this group. I could turn that off, and now I'm extracting the gray into the colors. So it's important to know this about using the HCWB custom color range tool. If you're selecting a neutral color and you want it to blend into the hues, you have to turn off that hue mask. And again, this is how it's working. So I'm going to turn off this filter, which I'll turn that layer back on, turn off the filter, and to simplify things, let's actually collapse the groups. Let's go to the little tabs next to these groups, collapse them. Collapse. Okay. Hit the little tabs. And collapse them all. So you can see everything is grouped into the master custom mask group for transparency. Open that up. I have a Max Chroma HCWB custom mask generator group. Inside that, there's things like this merged custom color mask, the colorizer layer for masked group, the colorizer layer for manual adjustments, and then the custom colorizer layer to manually set it. Okay, I can turn those on, I can turn this on while I'm making the adjustments. Without those on, I'm looking at it as the selection is black, everything else is white. Inside this Max Chroma HCWB color mask generator group, here's the master group within it, and then because what I basically do is have a master levels and curves control over the combination group. Inside the combination group is where we have the hue mask, the blackness blend, the whiteness blend, and the chroma blend. So what's happening is basically each of these are constructing. So first I have the chroma blend, and inside here I'm using the chroma mask with the chroma point of what I've selected. What I do is I find out, I run through the same HCWB extractions on the full layer of the custom color I've chosen. So I get the chroma point and I do difference over that. Okay, and then I've got the whiteness blend. Okay, so again, and there's some levels control right there. In here, the whiteness point is again, so this is the whiteness mask as original from the image. And then I take what is the whiteness of the color, the entire color layer that I'm trying to extract, and that would be a midway point, so it'd be gray. So what it's doing is now taking a difference of gray over the whiteness mask. Okay, same thing for the blackness. It's taking the difference of what was the black point over the blackness mask. And then the hue mask as well. And it's taking, and inside the hue mask, there's another option, which I'm going to save that for a future video. You can actually set a manual hue ramp point instead of using the difference to do it. But this is the hue revealed point, which there was no hue in that. Difference over this with the black and whites is, actually I want those on. So the black and white forces it to white. There was no hues in the gray that I selected. Okay, and what these are doing is combining with the blend mode as well. So I take the chroma blend. And then I take the whiteness blend and I do lighten. But the maximum range, medium range, minimum range, those are changing whether it's lighten or screen or add. So it's taking one of the masks and combining it with the other one in this method. Lighten, screen, or add. Lighten is going to allow more of it to come through. Screen is a little less, and add is going to be the tightest one. It's going to cut out more stuff. So I'll set that to lighten. The blackness then over that. And then the hue mask. So that's where the hues are cutting out of that. So if I turn off the hue mask for anything neutral that I've selected, that might give me more of the extraction that I want. But you do have the power to just select only neutral grayscales. Okay. So let's close this and look at the other example of what if you have a color that isn't totally neutral, but it's very close to the neutrals. Okay. Let's say this little bit of red. Now under color range, it'll see that and see just about every other color as being similar. So let's just put that up and see it's looking at every other color as being quite similar to that gray, as well as the neutral gray. When we use the HCWB custom color range to extract that color, let's go ahead and run it. These actions, they are dependent on how large your file is, how fast the computer is at processing it all. When this is done, I'm going to turn this on, and we can see that it is extracting just the reddish grays. Okay, it is modifying by the hue, and it has not selected any of the neutrals. Okay, it's cutting right off at the neutral point. So the same thing, the same rule applies as to whether you really want to cut things out by the hues or not, if you want to have that gray go into some neutral grays or not. So let me turn off that color overlay, and we'll just go down to the hue mask group. If I turn that off, well, let me do the maximum range so we can look at the mask itself like we're editing, and you can see. Now if I go to the hue mask group, hue mask, turn that off, now you can see we're extracting part of the medium gray as well. And all of the hues are being treated the same. Okay? So I can modify it by the hue, and I could decide a certain amount. I could say maybe bring in some of that gray, some of the other hues, not some of the other hues. I can determine how much. So that's where it's different from the color range in terms of neutral colors or close to neutral colors. I have the option of bringing some of that in or none at all. You know, I mean, all of the other colors, similar grayish colors, or none at all, just within that hue range. Okay. I don't think that I want to get into anything else for this particular video. I just wanted to show that option and a little bit of how this action is working, which is not, I haven't shown yet how to create the entire action, but I gave you a sneak peek into the difference blend mode and how that works to extract some colors over background layers, and then the importance of whether or not you're using the hue mask or not. And again, collapsing these groups, I don't think there's a way to automatically collapse the groups, but someone let me know if you know that. It'll be under layer, arrange. Yeah, I'm not sure if there's a way to just automatically collapse the groups or expand the groups. Okay, but essentially there's these four main groups: the chroma, the whiteness, the blackness, and the hue mask. And you have control over whether those are actually modifying each other. And you see how they're on lighten mode, lighten blend mode, lighten. The maximum, medium, and minimum is just changing that. So minimum range changes them all to screen mode. Medium range. Minimum range changes them all to linear dodge, add. If I take off that hue mask, okay, you can see it's basically it's cutting out more colors. It's tightening in. Okay, medium, minimum, maximum range. All right, so you could make those edits. I could do replace color mask. And essentially I could be colorizing. Let me click on that right here. I could be colorizing my neutral colors, you know, make them all one particular hue, change it around any way I want, extract that mask for other purposes. But I'm going to conclude this video now and look forward to sharing much more information on this, as well as an action set that this is taken from. Again, these are modular. And before I get into making too many pieces, okay, so let's just go ahead and, so I first put out the HSB color layers for free, then the HCWB adjustment and colorizer layers action for $5, and I showed in another video how to make those actions. Then I put out the HCWB custom color range for $20. But next I'm going to show where these modular actions are coming from. It's a huge action set that I'm going to release, and that's only going to be $100, and it's going to include some legacy products that I've had before for free. So if you don't want to, and that's why I'm going to put that out next to show, before I just put lots of things out for $1, $5, $10, $20 increments, you would end up spending more on all those pieces than buying the entire master action set combined. So I'm going to put that out next and show what it consists of, all the various actions in it, and then start doing videos for each piece as I break it out into modules and separate actions. So thank you for following me through this particular video, and stay tuned for more Max Chroma.